Hello everyone and welcome to the Aussie Sim Commentator channel for round number 3 of the USANZ Racing League Championship. This time is from the oval of the Pheonix Raceway. As you can see, we are in the middle of qualifying right now. 10 people have put down laps. Jeremy Miller being the pole sitter at the moment with a 27.281, which is a fairly blistering quick time around here. Let's see, James Vinning there in second, Rachel Hunt in third at the moment, and Blake Maddy's sitting there in fourth. Just waiting to see if anyone else is actually going to lay down a lap. See the 20 car coming out onto the track. That is Adam Walker. Let's see what Adam can do here for a qualifying time. And he's promptly spun it. He missed the blue cone though. That's quite the achievement. We'll see him have another crack at it now. That is one of his laps gone. Gonna have one more chance. He has to be on it right from this lap to see what time he can post. Not using too terribly much apron there. Bit of a surprise. As he comes around the final corner. The 20 car posted a 27.429, putting him up into fourth, just up in front of Blake Maddy's. So well done there for the 20 car of Adam Walker. So we've got the 21 just sitting there at the pit lane exit. Time has just about to expire, so we will take this moment to go through our starting grid once I get the thing open for the starting grid. And here we go. As you can see, Jeremy Miller will be starting off the pole with James Vinning out of P2. Rachel Hunt will be out of third. Adam Walker out of fourth. Blake Maddy's out of P5 with Chuck Mobley out of P6. Lewis Woodall will be out of 7th with Gregory Harris out of 8th. Russell Arnold out of 9th with Jason McQuinn going to be starting from P10. Ryan Cahill, the last of the qualifiers, will be out of 11th with Thomas Harmon starting out of 12th. Brian Chambliss, the Sonoma champion, will be out of 13th with Ryan Daly out of 14th. Brian Pizzakemi will be out of 15th with Thomas Light out of P16. Matt Burgess out of 17. Travis Massia out of 18th. Timothy Swigert out of 19th. Looks like Mr. Aaron Grosskopf, will be starting out of P20 with his brand new setup that he got after last week's donations. Brian Britt in the 5 will be out of 21st. Gareth Anderson out of 22nd. And last but not least, Christopher Davies will be starting from the 23rd position. Strength of field is a 2086. Track temp is a blistering cold 20 degrees Celsius. I say that just because it's winter here. As we can see, the cars on track We got 200 laps of this man-made hell that is the Pheonix Raceway. 3 stages, 50 laps for the first 2 stages, and then 100 the rest of the way. The pace car's in, and we're off and racing already. Jeremy Miller getting a huge jump to start off this race. James winning very quickly there, taking the 2nd position. Rachel Hunt's in 3rd, got Blake Maddie sitting there in 4th. Front of this field looks like it's stringing out a little bit, and we have a caution already. Oh, and we've got big dramas here. So let's see what's happened to the 24 of Gregory Harris. Coming out of turn 2. Is it something that he's done, or is it something that's happened to him? Oh, it's something that he's done. He's gone sideways. Out of control, going through the dog leg. And he's going to hit that inside wall. Yep. Pancake the left side of the car. He's come back up the track. Oh, no. And there is the 98 of Thomas Light. Looks like the 61 of Travis Massia also involved. The 87 of Brian Pizzakemi has gone around. Oh, the 43 of Aaron Grosskopf. He caught a big piece of that one. And the 00 Gareth Anderson also getting a small piece of that one as well. Oh, so it's all on at the moment. The big way to start this race. And unfortunately, it's going to end up in a few bent cars already. Who was that? Someone back there in the field a little bit. Let's see if we can grab a quick chat here to Gregory Harris, see if he's in Discord anywhere. And it does not look like he is. So unfortunately we're not going to be able to grab a chat with him. But at the moment, the leader is going to be the 26 of Jeremy Miller, with James Vinning restarting from P2. But Rachel Hunt is going to be restarting from P3. Blake Maddies in 4. Adam Walker 5th. Lewis Woodall in P6. Buck Mobley will be restarting 7th. Russell Arnold 8th. Jason McQuinn 9th. And Brian Chambliss will be restarting P10. Unfortunately, it looks like Gregory Harris and Thomas Light are OUT out. Same too with Aaron Grosskopf. Possibly Gareth Anderson as well. It's a shame to see Aaron's first race as a racer and unfortunately caught up in that incident. Alright, the lights are out on the safety car. We're going to go green this time. And it looks like we're going single file restart. Pace car is in. Off and racing again.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
Jeremy Miller already extending himself a big lead. Looks like everyone's made it through the first two corners all right. And with that, everyone has now completed one lap under green. Besides, obviously, the 4 cars who are in the pits. So it's Jeremy Miller from James winning, Rachel Hunt in 3rd, Blake Matties still sitting there in 4th, Adam Walker in 5th. Let's see if we can't find ourselves a little bit of action here on the track. Everyone for the most part looking like they're fairly single file, taking it easy. This is a little bit of a battle pack we've got here. Is Jason McCrin, Ryan Charles, Matt Burgess, Thomas Harmon, and Christopher Davies. We're currently focused on the 12 of Matt Burgess, who is behind Ryan Charles. And here comes Thomas Harmon to the inside of Matt Burgess now. And Thomas Harmon gets that position. Now he's going to work on the 48 of Ryan. And he gets that move made fairly easily. 12 of Matt Burgess looking to follow suit. And he gets there as well. That's Thomas Harmon up to 11th, Matt Burgess up to 12th. Ryan Charles dropping towards the back of this one. Down to 14th now behind Christopher Davies. As these guys start working on the 23 car of Jason McQuinn. And they've gotten around him pretty quickly too. Thomas Harmon, definitely one of the hard chargers week in, week out in both the leagues that I broadcast. Likes to start at the back and work his way through. He was actually very lucky that he didn't get caught up in that first lap crash. Let's go and check in on our leaders now. Jeremy Miller still out in front. Got himself about a 1 second gap over James Vinning. Rachel Hunt still sitting there in third. But she hasn't exactly been letting James get away from her here. She's also been building the gap over Maddie's in fourth. In fact, Blake might be under pressure from Adam Walker here very shortly. As I'm going to set the camera to focus on crashes to see where we end up. And we're on Ryan Charles, who was defending from Travis Massey on the 61, one of the cars involved in the lap 1 wreck. And now we're looking at Russell Arnold in P9. He's got Thomas Harmon right behind him. Thomas is on a charge right now. He finds favoritism in some of the short tracks. As we are working lap 18. Now we're up with Lewis Woodall, who's in P6. The 13 car. And back to Thomas Harmon. Thomas now trying to make a move for the 9th position on the 34. As the iRacing decides that the 13 is more interesting than the actual battle on track. And Thomas gets the move made on Russell Arnold. Now Thomas setting his sights on Chuck Mobley in the 78 car. And just behind Thomas, there is Matt Burgess lurking as well. He'll be looking for a way around Russell Arnold here in a second. And we've got a battle up here as well. Brian Chambliss trying to get underneath Lewis Woodall. This is for the 6th position. And Chambliss at the moment holding on to the advantage ahead. And he has that move made very nicely. It's going to be Chambliss up into 6th. Lewis Woodall down to P7. Back on Thomas Harmon now, and he has gotten around the 78 of Mobley. And it looks like Matt Burgess in the 12 struggling to get around these two drivers. He mostly just seems to be holding station there at the moment in 11th. It looks like Rachel Hunt has made her way around James Vinning now. She's up into P2. As things get a little bit wild here, Matt Burgess trying to get 2 for 1, and he does, going into turn 3 there. So Matt Burgess just went from 11th to 9th and said, thank you boys, I'll see you later. Russell Arnold holding on to his 10th, and Chuck Mobley went from 9th to 11th in that exchange. Russell Arnold not going to lie down and let bygones be bygones, trying to battle back to the tail of Matt Burgess. At the moment, doesn't look like he's going to be able to. Matt Burgess just a little bit too strong on corner entry. Getting really close to that wall on corner exit as well. Let's go and check in on our third place driver at the moment. This is James Vinning in the 333 car. And just behind him is Blake Matties in the 27. Vinning lost a 10th in the last lap to Matt Burgess. Oh, sorry, Vinning gaining a 10th to Matties. Lost a 10th to Rachel Hunt. But Vinning not looking too good at the moment. Checking up ever so slightly, and now Matty's actually going to be under siege from the 25 of Brian Chambliss, who has caught up to these guys at the back of the top 5 here. Matty's looking like he's pushing really hard, sparking it up with a netcode contact against the wall there. Chambliss using all the apron he possibly can. Couldn't quite get his nose up on the inside there. He's definitely going to make a race of this, that's for sure. Yeah, Blake at the same time as catching James Vinning, falling under attack from the 25 of Chambliss. You can see also Thomas Harmon in the background in P8. Matt Burgess in 9th, and Harmon has caught up to Adam Walker in 7th, the 20 car. And Chambliss now is to the inside of Matty's, and he is just about taken away 4th, not quite yet. Matty's getting the run on the outside to stay with him at the moment. But through turn 1, Chambliss takes the position, and there is nothing that Matty's can do about it. So now Chambliss Gonna start fighting on towards the third place car of Vinning. As you can see down there, gained a 10th on him last lap. And Thomas Harmon has gotten around the 20 of Russell Arnold, Adam Walker now, sorry. I was looking at my standings and saw Russell's name. Ryan Chambliss now also right on the tail of James Vinning. What can Chambliss do? Try and take away this third position. He's actually currently consistently the fastest car on track. And that is now Chambliss up into third position. He's even lapping faster than Thomas Harmon at the moment. I think we might stick on with Chambliss here just for a little bit. And see how much he can gain on Rachel and Jeremy in front of him. As we're now on lap 39. And he's pulled a 10th off of Rachel in that lap. Oh, and I saw a car going around. I think that might have been the 13. It was the 13 of Lewis Woodall. Who has now fallen all the way back to P6. Just in front of Thomas Harmon. Thomas is going to make very quick work of this. Because Lewis's tyres will be absolutely screaming in pain after that. Looks like Thomas might have cut him a break though. So we will just have to wait and see. As the laps are ticking down to the end of the first stage. And actually our leader, 26 car of Jeremy Miller, just about to catch up to lap traffic. The first car on his list is the 48. That is of course Ryan Charles. Ryan's not making it easy, but he's not making it too hard either. And that is Jeremy Miller putting Ryan Charles one lap down with 6 laps to go on the stage now. Jeremy Miller's not exactly pulling away from Rachel Hunt here. They broke even last lap. Only about half a tenth in it. Come across the line this time. Broke even again. 400ths of a second separating these two in times. The nod just slightly going to Jeremy Miller there. And Brian Chambliss has been closing in on both of them. You can see him there just sitting in third. Catching up to Rachel ever so slightly. He's only got this lap to try and get that move done before the caution. Or he's going to play it smart and wait it out. We'll have to wait and see. Come out of the dog leg for one last time in the first stage through turn 4. Oh, a little bit loose there for Jeremy Miller. And here we go. He comes to the caution flag. Once I hit the right button. And apparently it didn't work. So we had to do that. That's Jeremy Miller, Rachel Hunt, Brian Chambliss, James Vinning, Blake Matthews, Lewis Woodall, Thomas Harmon, Matt Burgess, Adam Walker, and Russell Arnold as your top 10 when the caution fell. We're going to go for a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll see how these guys stack up after the pit stop cycle, so make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty, we are back live and exclusive here for the USANZ Racing League. And we've just had our first stage end. And at the moment it's going to be the 26 car Jeremy Miller starting again from the pole. Rachel Hunt in P2. Looks like Brian Chambliss will be third in this one. James Vinning in fourth. Blake Matthews fifth. Thomas Harmon will be restarting from P6 with the 13 of Lewis Woodall out of 7th, Matt Burgess out of 8th, Brian Pizzicami fighting his way up the field to 9th with Russell Arnold restarting out of P10. And Jeremy Miller with an excellent pit lane time of a 41.6 seconds. the fastest of the top four there. Track temp has gone up very slightly, is now 21 degrees Celsius. The air temp's 19 degrees Celsius. And the wind is blowing east at about 7 kilometers an hour. The in-sim time is currently 8:16 in the evening. As the lights have gone out on the pace car, we're going to be going green this time by. Double file restart. Alright, the pace car is making his way to the pits. And we are up and racing.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
Jeremy Miller with a nice jump again. Rachel Hunt with a good jump to maintain the second position over the 25 of Brian Chambliss. And everyone at the moment surviving in the pack. And we completed the lap with a double file restart. Also, Thomas Harmon just made his way into the fourth position, getting around James Vinning. So we're going to see him up here battling these three at the front very shortly. '26 of Jeremy Miller, looking very smooth and comfortable. Not so much for Vinning there in the background, just about getting into the wall on the exit of turn 4. And we have an issue. The 21 car is involved, so is the 23 of Jason McQueen. That's Christopher Davies in the 21. Let's see what happened here. Coming out of turn 4. And it looks like Davies got loose coming off the corner. See, he was trying to save it there. And the 23 likewise just getting loose all by himself. So we actually had 2 single car accidents there that brought out this caution. And they were very lucky to not touch each other and not collect anyone else in the field. So the order at the moment is Jeremy Miller, Rachel Hunt, Brian Chambliss, Thomas Harmon, James Vinning, Matt Burgess, Brian Pizzicami, Travis Massia, Lewis Woodall has gone to the pits, Russell Arnold in 9th, and everyone 10th on back, I'm pretty sure has pitted. No, they can't have. Maybe they did. We've got Christopher Davies scored as 10th. But Lewis Woodall is going to be 11th as he's coming out of the pits. The 27 of Blake Matties has went a lap down and just got the wave around. The lucky dog. Just give me a second here, guys. I just gotta see if I can do something. Go back to our leader now. And it did work. I think. Looks like we're back onto Wonder Green now. And looks like I have lost everyone. Technical difficulties. I'm going to just quickly put on the video and hopefully we'll be back in a second. Alrighty, we are back and in business. Unfortunately, we did have a game crash there. The internet completely dropped out in the middle of the broadcast, so we've missed a whole heap. Looks like we are under caution again, and Rachel Hunt has taken the lead of the race. So it's going to be Rachel Hunt from Jeremy Miller, Thomas Harmon. We got Brian Chambliss in 4th, Matt Burgess 5th, Blake Maddie's there in P6. Russell Arnold will be sitting in 7th, Chuck Mobley 8th, Adam Walker in 9th, Christopher Davies will be restarting from 10th in this one. And it looks like we've only got 16 cars left in this race as well. As I've now got everything back up and running. We do have 2 lap down cars back on the track, and that is the 24 and the 98. Good to see those drivers making their way back on track. But the 61 is also making an appearance. I'm not sure what this last caution was for. But we are looking like we're about to go to 1 to green here now. And we are. The lights are out on the pace car. 1 to green. Rachel Hunt on the pole. Jeremy Miller on her outside. Thomas Harmon and Brian Chambliss in 3rd and 4th. Even the 12 of Matt Burgess sitting there in 5th. Going to be a big uphill battle for the top 2 at the moment. The pace car goes in. And we're off and racing again.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
Jeremy Miller already trying to battle back into the lead in front of Rachel Hunt. He's got the inside line in 3. And he's going to get it. And here comes Thomas Harmon now. Battling to the inside of Rachel. Thomas not going to be so fortunate though, and then Rachel blocks off his momentum there into turn 1. It swings out wide, and we're under caution again. This time it looks like it's for the 87 car of Brian Pizzakemi. Let's see what unfolded for him. Going into turn 1. And a little bit of a tap there from the 23 of Jason McQuinn. And that sent Brian Pizzakemi around. And a fairly solid impact with that outside wall as well. That is not very nice at all for the 87 car. But let's see if we can drag him up here and have a quick little chat. Hey Brian, Corey up in the booth, do you have a copy?
Yes, sir.
What happened going into turn 1 there, man?
I'm not entirely sure. I may have braked a little too hard for the corner. I'm not. I'd have to go look at it after the race. I was just trying to, make sure I made the corner, and he was a little harder on the brakes after he went into the corner, but I just saw him too late.
Oh, well, that's unlucky, man. Before we throw you back to where you were, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
I'm gonna give a shout out to the guys and the Output Racing team. They're great. Shout out to you, Corey, for great job commentating as usual, and everyone in this league for trying to put on a wonderful show.
Alright, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for coming out, and hopefully you can get that thing back out there and get a good result.
All right, thank you.
Alright, guys, so that was the 87 of Brian Pizzakemi there. A little bit of give and take, and there was less of both in that one. But back up at the front of the pack, Jeremy Miller back in the lead of Rachel Hunt. Got Thomas Harmon right there in third, Brian Chambliss in fourth, Matt Burgess still in fifth. We've got Blake Matties in P6, Russell Arnold in 7th, Chuck Mobley sitting in 8th with Adam Walker 9th, Christopher Davies 10th. The lucky dog for this caution was the 61 car of Travis Massier. And the 23 as cause of the caution was sent to the back of the field. And the lights are still on the pace car, so I'm assuming we're probably at 2 to green here. As the 87 of Brian Pizzakemi just sneaking out in front of the field. The track temp has gone back to 20 degrees Celsius after very briefly being up at about 21. Everyone's starting to get formed up and ready to run. Like the 98 of Thomas Light back in the pits. He was involved in the lap 1 melee. And the lights are out on the pace car. We're going to go green this time by. He's cutting the dog leg is so normal that even the pace car does it. How about that? The pace car now makes his way through turn 4 and then into the pits. It's time for these guys to get going again. And we're off and racing. Jeremy Miller with a huge jump, but so too was Thomas Harmon. Going from 3rd to 2nd. Brian Chambliss moved down to the lower lane to try and take advantage as well. Not going to happen. Blake Matties stuck on the outside. He's going to lose a couple of positions here. And now it looks like Brian Chambliss going to try and make a move for the third position on Rachel Hunt. The 12 of Matt Burgess just behind him. Just stalking them ever so slightly. But Rachel not going to let Matt take advantage on the exit. Pulls down onto the apron on the lower side. She's saying if Matt Burgess is going to pass her, then it's going to be on the outside. They make their way through turns 1 and 2. Matt Burgess did actually look at the outside of Rachel Hunt there. And I think he has got the run to try and do it too. As we're only just a few laps away from the actual stage caution here. To start the, finish the second stage, start the final stage. So that Burgess will be hungry to try and take this position away from Rachel Hunt. They make their way along the front straight to start lap 97. Matt Burgess is kind of stalled out just behind Rachel Hunt here. And the battle is on for second. 25 of Brian Chambliss trying to battle on the inside of Thomas Harmon here. He's only got a couple more laps to be able to do it. And it looks like going through turns 1 and 2, he's got the move made. Thomas Harmon back to P3. And that could possibly be a little bit of strategy there by Harmon, but might not be. Looks like he might be struggling a little bit here with his tyres. As we start lap 99. We will get the caution flag this time as they come out of turn 4. And there it is. So while we are under this stage caution, we're going to go for a quick commercial break. And when we come back, we will have a look at how these guys stack up after the pit stop cycle. Make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty, we are back. And it looks like there's a couple people getting pit stops. There's Gregory Harris on screen. The cause of the lap 1 crash. Thomas Light just behind him. These guys possibly looking at getting wave arounds here. Possibly. We see the field coming back out onto the track. One thing I don't see, or one person I don't see at the front of the pack there is Thomas Harmon, who must have had a terrible pit stop very deep in the field in 12th at the moment. So we might have to try and find out what's happened to Thomas Harmon here. In fact, let's see if we can drag him up for a quick little chat. Hey Thomas, Corey up in the booth. Do you have a copy?
10-4, I got you.
What happened in the pit stops there, man? You were right up towards the front of the pack, and now you're buried all the way down in 12th.
I just had a few seconds of damage I wanted to get fixed. It really wasn't affecting the car too bad, but I just wanted to go back in the back and work my way through the field.
Alright, that's a big 10-4 there, man. Anyone you want to give a quick shout out to before we let you go?
You up in the booth, fans watching, other guys that actually showed up tonight, the league admins and race control and all those guys.
Alright, well thank you very much, man, and good luck for the rest of the race.
Thanks, sir.
Alright guys, Thomas Harmon there. Just getting some damage fixed. That's the way we like to see it. At the front of the pack, we got the 26 of Jeremy Miller with the 25 of Brian Chandler. Is going to be starting out of P2. Rachel Hunt from 3rd. Blake Matthews from 4th. Looks like it's going to be Chuck Mobley from 5th. Russell Arnold P6. Jason McQuinn from Russell Arnold from 7th. Chuck Mobley 6th. Matt Burgess 5th. I'll get it right eventually, guys, I swear. We've won the green now. Jason McQuinn will be out of 8th. Adam Walker out of 9th. Travis Massey will be restarting this one from P10. Travis Massey, another one of those who was caught up in that lap 1 melee. As the pace car makes his way in. And we're off and racing again. Jeremy Miller with another huge restart there on the inside line. Brian Chambliss holding on strong though with 2nd place. Blake Matthews trying to make the outside line work on Rachel Hunt, but that's going to cost him, because now the 12 of Matt Burgess has worked his way up into 4th, just in front of Blake. And it looks like we've got a few battles forming throughout the field. See the battle here between the 23 and the 34. It's Jason McQuinn and Russell Arnold. Just behind them, Thomas Harmon. He is making up positions very quickly. He's just gotten around the 61 of Travis Massey, and now he's working on the 20 car of Adam Walker. That's the back of the top 10 there, so Thomas Harmon is absolutely charging right now. The 61 of Travis Massey trying to go with him around the 20. Go back to the front though and see what's going on up here. These guys look like they have strung out a little bit actually. In fact, they have strung out a little bit, and it looks like Jeremy Miller there in the 26 getting a little bit loose coming out of turn 4. Wasn't so much that it was to be concerned about, but still enough that it was noticeable. Ryan Chambliss is right on his tail and applying all kinds of pressure at the moment. Jeremy Miller still holding on. That pressure that he's getting from Chambliss must be pretty immense at the moment. As it looks like Thomas Harmon has made his way to the back of Russell Arnold in the 34 car. Go checking on Thomas, how he's progressing. Actually not gotten through the field as quickly as I thought he would have. He chucked Mobley right there on his tail as well. It's kind of stuck behind Russell Arnold here a little bit. Saying that, Russell Arnold just went wide in turn one, making a little bit of a mistake. Pressure that Thomas was applying mind punted him into going wide. Battle is on behind them as well, the 78 and the 34. But that battle did not last long because it looked like Mobley very loose coming out of turn 4, just about collecting Russell Arnold with him. As we're going to go back up to check in on our leaders. And it's still the status quo at the moment, with Miller in the lead and Chambliss in P2. Let's see if we can see how the 78 of Mobley was doing there with the recovery. Looks like he's got the 61 of Massier on his tail. The 87 of Pisakemi just behind these guys, involved in a little bit of a battle as well, with the lap down car of Ryan Daly. He let Ryan go there. I'd have to say that's quite smartly. Going back to the 78 though, he has dropped all the way down to 9th. After just about trying to overtake Thomas Harmon there for P6. It looks like Mobley now under siege from Travis Massier. Travis wants 9th. Mobley doesn't want to give it up. Very close quarters as they're coming through turns 3 and 4. And side by side they go again into turn 1. Who's going to come out superior out of these two out of turn 2? It's a drag race. They've been side by side for an entire lap now. And Mobley takes the advantage on the outside into 3. But Massier fights right back in turn 4. This is a cracking little battle. Neither one of them wants to give an inch. Mobley looks like he's got the better entry. He can go slightly deeper, but Massier gets him on exit. Going through the dog leg, Massey's just got his nose ahead, and he's completely ahead now. Well done by Travis Massey. Those two were battling like that for at least 2 or 3 laps. That's definitely not an easy feat to do. The Thomas Harmon update is he is now up into P5. He's gotten around Russell Arnold and Blake Maddez. And he is now sitting in 5th and chasing down the tail of the 12 of Matt Burgess. A little bit of an update on our leader. He has come out to a 0.7 of a second gap over Brian Chambliss now. Chambliss was just unable to find a way around him, and I'm guessing he suffered for it quite immensely. As we're going to go and set the cameras to focus on the exciting stuff, see where it lands us. And we got the 78 of Mobley on screen. He's now under pressure from the 87 of Brian Pizzakemi. Oh, and it was just about contact between the two drivers as they were getting into 3 there. Here comes the 20 now of Adam Walker, trying to look for an inside move on Mobley. And Walker is there. He's just got his nose ahead. Oh, but he got loose in the dog leg. And that has put an end to that battle. Now it's a 20 and 21. Mobley and Davis. But that 20 car is looking very loose on the exit of the corners. Let's see if we can ride on board with him for a lap here and listen to the car. You'll be able to hear the over rev for when he gets loose. A little bit of right steer in there just to correct it. Trying to be as patient as you can on the throttle. And it looks like he's managed to get through a few laps without getting loose there, actually, so that's good. But going back to our leaders, it looks like that gap has come down a lot now. Chambliss lit a fire under his butt, and now look at him, all over the tail of the 26 of Jeremy Miller. This is the battle for the lead right here. Let's have a look out of the back of Miller's car. Chambliss now going down to the dog leg, coming back up. Look at how close he gets coming out of turn 1. Dives down to the dog leg. And he's got the inside now. Chambliss trying to take the lead away coming out of turn 4, and he's going to get it. Miller back down to P2. Looked like he was going to try for an over-under there. Couldn't get it done. And that is going to put the 25 car of Brian Chambliss into the lead of this race. Chambliss wanting to show that his win at Sonoma was no fluke. And here he is in the lead of the race now, and pulling away from Jeremy Miller. I think the tyres on that 26 car are starting to expire a little bit here. He's just lost a little bit more time to Brian Chambliss here. Now let's have a very quick Thomas Harmon update. He's still in 5th, but he has caught up to the 12 of Matt Burgess now. So Matt will probably be starting to look in his mirror a little bit for that Thomas Harmon behind him. And both of them collectively have been catching up to Rachel Hunt as well. As our leader, Brian Chambliss, just about starting to get into lap traffic. He's 24 ahead, that's Gregory Harris. He was involved in the lap 1 skirmish. Makes it very easy for the leader. The next car on the books is the 13 of Lewis Woodall, who is 1 lap down at the minute. The only car 1 lap down. So if we were to get a caution here in the next 3 seconds, then the 13 would be back on the lead lap. And I would hazard a guess as to say everyone would probably pit as well. Gregory Harris likewise 80 laps down in this race. Let's go check in on this second group, as they're now starting to catch the lap traffic. There's the 24 going high for them. All 3 of them made it through very nicely. And these 3, Hunt, Burgess and Harmon, have just been ever so slightly catching up to the 2nd place car of Jeremy Miller here. And here comes Harmon, taking over the 4th position from Matt Burgess. Looks like Matt's starting to fall off the pace with these guys a little bit. Maybe his tyres are reaching the end of their lives. And Thomas Harmon now starting to work over Rachel Hunt. This is for the 3rd position. You can see the 48 car very slow on the front straight. He's just in front of our leader now. And the safety car is on the track for the 27 car of Blake Matties. Let's see what happened here for Blake coming out of turn 4. Does he get the wall? No, he just gets loose. Gave it too much throttle. Gets it loose. Gets it sideways. Oh, big slap on that inside wall. And locks it up as he slides across the start-finish line. Just so he doesn't get back into the racing line there. And that is going to be very detrimental to Blake Matties' race. We'll wait for him to get into pit lane and then we'll drag him up for a quick chat. Oh, he's not pitting. So let's drag him up for a chat regardless. Hey Blake, Corey up in the booth. Do you have a copy?
Yes, I do.
What happened to you coming out of turn 4 there, man?
Honestly, I don't know. The rear end cracked loose, and it was just one of those times. As soon as I heard it, I tried to stop it, and it just did not want to stop. She just said, "Nope, I'm gonna keep rotating. Hang on for the ride."
Looked like a pretty solid hit on the left side. Are you going to look at pitting here to get some of the repairs done?
Yeah, we're getting in. I just wanted to make sure to get in line. Wasn't sure where everyone is at, so we're gonna go take a look at her. Hopefully pit crew can get her done without too much time lost. Hopefully no laps lost. And see about getting back out there and hopefully getting back to the top 10 at least.
Alright, man, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, I mean, as always, you up in the booth, all the guys that put this together, every single driver that's out here came out to put it on. Big shout out to Aaron Grosskopf, which, you know, we did last week to honor him and donate to him, and he's hanging out with me doing a little bit of just, I guess you'd say spotting for the most part, but just kind of keeping me motivated, keep my head through it. So yeah, I got a minute worth of damage. We'll take it. Just get back out there and hopefully get back to the front.
Alright, man, well, good luck for the rest of the race. Hopefully you can make a good run of it.
Thank you, bud.
Alright, guys, so that was a 27 of Blake Matties. Still in high spirits, even with that little bit of a contact that he had. And also the 13 car getting the wave around there, getting himself back onto the lead lap, which is awesome to see. The 4 car very briefly was in the lead. That's Timothy Swiggett. But now he's just gone to the pits. We're going to have a quick commercial break here, guys. When we come back, I'll let you know how the grid stands at the moment. So make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty, we are back. We've got Jeremy Miller sitting on the pole, Brian Chambliss out of P2, got Thomas Harmon sitting in 3rd, Rachel Hunt sitting in 4th at the moment, Russell Arnold in 5th, Jason McQuinn P6, actually no, Matt Burgess P6, Jason McQuinn will be 7th with Brian Pizzicemi out of 8th, Travis Massey 9th, and Chuck Mobley will be restarting 10th. We have 15 cars on the lead lap. Blake Matties getting all of his damage fixed is the first car, 1 lap down. And we have about 64 laps left to run in this race. It should be an absolutely cracking time if we can get it green flag the rest of the way. as the pace car now makes his way to the pit lane. And we're off and racing.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
Jeremy Miller with a huge jump again, taking out a big lead. And Brian Chandler still sitting there in second with Thomas Harmon in third. And Rachel Hunt managing to hold on to her fourth place at the moment. But it's going to be a bit of a tough time because she has got Russell Arnold and Matt Burgess sitting right behind her side by side, trying to chase her down and battle each other. We've also got the 87 of Brian Pizzicami in this little bit of a battle here. And it looks like Matt Burgess managing to take away the fifth position from Russell Arnold. The 87 of Brian Pizzicami still trying to fight on that outside line to take the spot away for P6. And it looks like he's managed to do that this time. And now here comes Jason McQuinn as well in the 23 car, trying to get around the outside of Russell Arnold in the 34 car. That outside line in the early laps looks like has got a really big advantage. As we see Jason McQuinn now file in front of Russell Arnold to take away 7th. Russell Arnold's just gone from 5th all the way back to 8th in the matter of a few laps there. But back up to the front of the pack now. Brian Chambliss, who had a big lead going on coming into that caution, back into P2 after losing the lead in the pit stop cycle. 2 seconds slower than Jeremy Miller in the pit lane. And sitting there in third still, Thomas Harmon, looking very strong. But Jeremy Miller at the moment, the class of the field, but Brian Chambliss behind him does have the fastest lap of the race and is looking very threatening indeed. Not so much threatening in the earlier laps, but once we get, 10 to 15 laps on these tyres, that's when Chambliss just really seems to step up his game and get right onto the tail of Miller. It looks like Chambliss actually that time getting loose coming out of turn 4. That's allowed Miller to gain a huge advantage over him at the moment. Thomas Harmon likewise battling it out with one Rachel Hunt. We're having a look at it from the gyro cam in Matt Burgess's car. Can hear the tires scrubbing as he's driving fairly hard. Rachel Hunt pouring all kinds of pressure on the back of Thomas Harmon at the moment. The wind has also changed direction. Starting to come from the, starting to go northwest. Oh, sorry, it's coming from the northwest. And now it's just swung around to come from the east. At the moment, the wind is mostly coming from the north, which is really of no benefit to these drivers at all. The wind is fairly slow at the moment. Not really going to be affecting these cars too terribly much. It's a headwind as they're coming up the short chute before the dog leg. As we can see the telltale smokes of blinking up ahead, which means someone's experimenting with demonic portals. Let's go find out who it is. It's coming from one of the first two cars here, so it's either going to be Jeremy Miller or Brian Chambliss who is experimenting with the demonic portals. Oh, sounded like Chambliss that time, getting into the wall coming out of turn 4. He's definitely starting to push this automobile pretty hard. And it's working for him too. He is gaining time to Jeremy Miller. As we had the sum of 49 laps left to run in this race. Jeremy Miller looking a little bit unsettled in turn 1 that time. That's allowed Chambliss to close the gap here ever so slightly. Remember, this is the period of time where the tyres are on for Chambliss. Chambliss, big time cutting the dog leg. What can he do to try and catch up to this 26 car? Let's jump on board Chambliss's nose here, as we don't know which one of these two was experimenting with the demonic portals. Oh, Miller looking very sideways coming off turn 4 there. Pushing very hard to try and keep Chambliss behind him. And could possibly be losing him a little bit of time here, being that unsettled in the corners. Chambliss doing the big boy cuts of the dog leg. You see how much that car is sideways coming out of turn 4 there. For Jeremy Miller. Chambliss 0.2 faster on the last lap. More big boy cuts there by Chambliss. And he is there right on the tail of the 26 car now. See how unsettled that 26 car is in turn 1. We're going to go back to the outside view of the cars now. That gap is just about nothing. You could almost put a cigarette paper over these two cars. And Chambliss now fighting to the inside of the 26. Does he have the run? Coming out of turn 1, he's got the run. As he cuts so much that he was going through the pit exit there. He is still to the inside of the 26. This is the battle for the lead. And the 25 has taken the lead with authority. Now he's just got to hope that we go green the rest of the way so he can try and take away the win, because I think if we get a caution he might be in a little bit of trouble here. 40 to go as we come across the start-finish line. It's just in front of them. The 48 car bounced off the wall. Oh, 3 wide with Blake Matthews as well. But Chambliss at the moment still holding on to the lead. He's building the gap over Jeremy Miller in the 26 car. Thomas Harmon still holding on to third over Rachel Hunt. In fact, he's built the gap over Rachel Hunt ever so slightly. I say ever so slightly, but I'm having a look at the mini-map right now and having a look at the cameras. He's right there behind the 26. And there's a huge air gap back to the 16 of Rachel Miller. The top 3, very close quarters. There's only 1.3 seconds between them. And Thomas Harmon is definitely catching up to Jeremy Miller here in second. Let's see what Thomas Harmon can do. Can he take away the second position? And Blake Matthews has actually gone 4 laps down. Didn't see that happen. But that is what has happened to the 27 car. And that's because he is in the pits. So Ryan Charles, one of the league owners and operators, 15th, 1 lap down, so that means we only have 14 cars on the lead lap at the moment. As our leader has just disposed of another lap down car in Gregory Harris, the 24 car. He's now 81 laps down in this race. Gregory Harris very smartly getting out of the way of the second and third place cars there, allowing their battle to continue. It doesn't look like Thomas Harmon's making too much of an effect here on Jeremy Miller. As now we have the 13 car heading into the pits. There's one Lewis Woodall pitting on lap 176. A couple of cars coming into the pits. The 48 of Ryan Charles there as well. And we hadn't really had a green flag run long enough to see if tyres and fuel would become an issue, as both the 26 and the 68 getting loose there coming off of the corner. This could provide some interesting action here. See Thomas Harmon now using a slightly higher lane on entry. Trying to gain some of that momentum. Ooh, slightly get into the wall there. On the front straight. That was just before the start finish line. And Thomas Harmon now starting to experiment with the alternate dimensions. Those demonic portals can be a little bit worrisome. You see Chambliss just in front of these guys hasn't really been pulling away too terribly much. In fact, Jeremy Miller's starting to catch up to him ever so slightly. But this is the top 3 battle that's going on right now. Have a little bit of a look back at our 4th and 5th place drivers. That's the 16 of Rachel Hunt and the 12 of Matt Burgess. Rachel currently still holding on to the advantage over Matt. And Matt just seems quite content to just sit in here behind her at the moment. Unable to make a move. Got 25 laps left to run. 24 when Brian Chambliss gets to the start-finish line. Have a little bit of a look back at another battle I can see forming here. We can see the 23 of Jason McQuinn and Brian Pizzakemi in the 87. These guys battling it out for the 7th position. It's very close quarters here. There's Travis Massier and the lap down car, Blake Matty's in this as well. The close little group of 4. Blake's gone 9 laps down. I'm assuming after getting some more damage fixed. Ryan Charles, who was still in the pits, 13 laps down. I think his race might be over. As now here comes Travis Massier in the 61, trying to make a move on Brian Pizzakemi to the inside in turn 3, and he gets the move made very quickly and easily. That is going to be Massier into 8th, Pizzakemi down to 9th. Let's go back up to our 2nd place battle here. Thomas Harmon still right on the tail of Jeremy Miller. But can Thomas make the move and take away second? That is going to be the big question with 19 laps left in this race. He's definitely in position to be able to do it. Maybe there might be some questions over fuel and whether they can make it fuel-wise. I don't think there would be, though. Brian Chambliss also catching up to a large collection of lap down traffic, or soon to be lap down traffic. These two are still battling it out for second. Jeremy Miller starting to use the dogleg a little bit more again. Thomas Harmon right on his tail. So the dogleg might not be a good choice anymore. Tires might be so worn out that it's just going to slow you down. Thomas Harmon got very loose there in turn one. Sliding through the corner. Has opened up the gap a little bit here to Jeremy Miller. And Chambliss in the lead of the race, starting to catch up to the lap traffic for sure and certain now. Coming up to the back of the 4 of Timothy Swiggett. But Thomas pushing very hard here, trying to take away the second place from Jeremy Miller. I don't think he's going to have enough to be able to do it. Normally, I don't doubt Thomas Harmon's skill. But at the moment, it just seems that he's just lacking something at this track to get around Jeremy Miller. As we're going to go catch up with our leader now, Brian Chambliss, as he's starting to get into the lap traffic. 11 laps left to run in this race. And he's still extremely cutting that dogleg. Way more than I thought would be viable at the moment. As we've got 10 laps to go as he comes across the line. Now let's see if Swigert will let him go gently or whether Chambliss is going to have to battle around him. Looks like Swigert running a higher line through turn 1 and 2 that time. We saw some telltale blinking smoke. Or someone playing with the demonic portals again. It looks like Chambliss is actually struggling here to get around the 4 car. Dives down to the low lane now. Getting all 4 tyres onto the apron. Gets around him finally. And the caution's out. That happened right in front of our leader. It's the 20 car of Adam Walker. That's going to spice things up for the end of this race. Let's see what's happened to Adam. Coming through turn 4. And it's just broken sideways on him. At the 78 and the 21 right there with him as well. The Chuck Mobley and Christopher Davis. They were very lucky not to get involved. So it was quite the solid impact. All 4 tyres getting off the ground. And that is all she wrote there for the 20. Who should be still able to run, albeit a lap down now. So we're going to go for our last commercial break while the racing's still on. When we come back, be setting the grid to have the run to the checkered flag, so make sure you stay tuned. Alright, we are back. And as you can see, Thomas Harmon has just put himself into the lead. Excellent pit lane time of a 41.6. Thomas Harmon in the lead. Rachel Hunt's worked her way back up to P2 now. Brian Chambliss has dropped from 1st to 3rd. Matt Burgess in 4th. And Jeremy Miller has fallen from the grace of God all the way down to the 11th position. Only a 42.5 in the pit lane, but I think he might have picked up himself a penalty. As you can see him continually dropping down the field here. He's going to have to let Chuck Mobley by as well. This is going to put him down to 12th. So absolutely heartbreaking there for Jeremy Miller. Having to drop all the way down to the back of the pack. He must have been speeding on the pit lane somewhere. But nevertheless, Thomas Harmon in the lead. And there's only going to be a few laps left to run in this race. The lights have just gone out on the pace car. We are going to get a natural green-white checker here. There's 3 laps to go immediately right now. When they get to the green flag, there will be 2 laps left to run. And then the white flag will come out immediately the lap after. And it looks like Thomas Harmon is choosing to restart from the outside lane. So this is the first time that I've seen lane choice coming into play, and Thomas Harmon is playing it right now, and he's choosing the outside lane. The pace car is in, and Thomas is off.
Go, go, go. Green flag.
And immediately the 12 of Matt Burgess has gone with him and taken over the second position. Rachel Hunt still holding on to third at the moment. Chambliss having to battle for fourth. And Burgess now trying to hold on to second from Rachel Hunt. White flag, last lap, last chance to win it or wear it for Thomas Harmon. And Rachel Hunt doing an excellent job there, trying to battle and hold on to this position. But here comes Chambliss on the very ultimate inside. Matt Burgess outside. Rachel's in the middle. Oh, she did not give Chambliss any room there. And it's going to be a 3-wide battle for second. The winner is Thomas Harmon. There's a crash in the background. P2, I'm pretty sure, went to Matt Burgess. Third was Brian Chambliss. The 26, Jeremy Miller, was involved in that one. So was the 27 car of Blake Madders. Great racing by this group of people. And a very well-deserved win there for Thomas Harmon. Output Racing taking out the top 3 positions. And there's Thomas Harmon celebrating with a burnout. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be handling the driver interviews, so make sure you stay tuned. Alrighty, guys, we are back, and it's time for our driver interviews. And of course, we're kicking things off with today's winner of the race. We're talking to the 68 of the one, Mr. Thomas Harmon. Thomas, a great fight through the field for you. Obviously, being a non-qualifier, most of the time, you're used to battling through the field. But what was it like for you coming through, that first lap crash and then all the incidents that followed to come home and take the win?
The first lap crash, I don't think I got to see that. The only thing I saw was, I think it was a 23, 25, I don't remember which, just get sideways coming off the corner or through the dog leg. But outside of that, I think I kept it pretty safe. Not much happening around me other than when I'd blink. And I'm pretty sure I gave Brian a heart attack once or twice at least. But track's a little difficult to pass at, especially on old tires, and that right rear gets a little bit worn. But you got to be patient, pick your spots, and hopefully you set them up correctly.
Well, it definitely looked like you gained yourself a lot of position in the pit lanes as well. What happened in that last stop that gave you such a big advantage over everyone else?
I don't know what happened with Jeremy other than he got a speeding penalty, but I still would have beat him off pit road. Brian, I think he said he had something trying to take something to do with 2 and 4 tires. He'll explain it to you, I'm sure. But I almost got him on the second to last stop we had there too. I was hoping I'd edge him out, but I kept pushing it edging up too far, and I wasn't comfortable holding it up there long enough to get ahead of him. But worked out to my benefit, and I was able to bring it home.
Now you experienced a couple of pretty good battles as you're coming up the field. Who was the hardest battler for you? Just trying to get around them as you're working your way up through.
I know who. The 13 car. He was. I think I ran up on him on the first stage, and he just immediately started running defensively, and sailing off that low lane every time. And I was at that point I was getting a little impatient, but I stayed behind him, finished out the segment there, came out ahead of him, and didn't have to fight him too hard again. Jeremy put up a good fight, but it was my own mistakes that prevented me from getting by him, not the line that he was running or anything. But yeah, the hardest fight would have been Lewis at the start of it.
All right, man. Now, before we let you go here, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Yeah, you up again in the booth, league admins, race control, the guys that come out every week, and the creditors and fans that show up as well.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Thomas, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yep, I'll be there. Have a good one.
All right. Coming up next is going to be our second place getter tonight in the 12 car. It's the one and only Matt Burgess. Matt, I don't get to talk to you too much these days. You generally don't have too good of runs as of late in both leagues. But it's good to see you having a good result this time and being up on the podium, mate.
Yeah, for Phoenix, I mean, this was a good race for Phoenix. I mean, we did have, quite a few checkers, or not checkers, yellows there kind of in a row for a while, but then it, cleaned back up, and it was good hard racing there at the end.
So you also didn't qualify and had to work your way through the field. Noticed very early in the race, you were trying to just follow Thomas through the traffic. So what was it like for you battling through the field to try and get the end goal of getting up towards the front?
It's a little scary at times. I almost rear-ended people quite a few times. Just, they had different braking points and how they take corners, and we haven't raced around. Everyone's kind of new with each other, so that was probably the worst part. Is somebody brakes a lot earlier than you thought, and I a few times I stood on the brakes and it just started to turn sideways on me, but I managed to not get into them. So otherwise, it's a normal work your way up through the field. Phoenix is really hard to pass once you get those worn tires, though. So that was one thing I forgot about.
All right, man. Now, it looked like towards the end of the race there, just before that final caution came out, you and Rachel were having a pretty great battle there for the fourth position. But it looked like both of you were kind of a little bit stalemate with each other. Was it a little bit of you were both just running similar pace, or was it a little bit of the dirty air was just unfavorable towards your car?
I think it was similar pace, and I don't know if she was getting tired there at the end. I noticed probably the last, 10 or about 10 laps before the caution that her corners were getting a little worse. So I don't know if it was the tires or she was getting tired, but I felt I could pass her before the end. At that point, it was going to be tough, but I felt I could get on the inside and get by. But then the yellow came out, and that changed everything.
Now let's talk about that green-white checker finish. So you came out of the pits in let's say, a fairly fortuitous position, being behind Thomas, and you, Rachel, and Brian Chambliss, who we'll speak to in a moment, had a very awesome three-wide battle as you're coming out of turn 4 to go across the line. What was that like, man?
I don't know. I was just trying not to get too far on the inside, but try to make the corner. All I kept hearing was 3 wide, then 1 inside, then 3 wide again, and it was 1 inside, then 3 wide again. I'm like, oh my god.
It was,
I was just trying to corners at that point, not hit the wall.
It was definitely a spectacular little battle to end off the race with, and it looked very entertaining from my perspective.
I'm sure it was, but if I didn't have the fresh tires, there's no way I could have been on the outside there and maintained that. They would have killed me having the inside line.
All right, man. Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Shout out to the league admins and race control. I mean, excellent job through this race. It's a tough job, but I mean, I have no complaints. I mean, the racing was good. You for the broadcast as usual. He's doing an excellent job. When I'll have to go back and watch it and actually see that 3 wide, from a different view instead of in the car. And shout out to Thomas for sneaking out another win again there when I thought Brian had it.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out and having a run, man. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
All right, will do.
All right, guys. So that was the 12th of Matt Burgess, today's second place getter. And the next person we get to talk to is today's third place getter. But in my heart, he was today's winner because he was the man who was in charge once he got to the lead. Of course, that is the one, Mr. Brian Chambliss. Brian, so you were a little bit different to the Output Racing guys, the other guys. You chose to qualify and you ran up the front towards the majority of the race, including taking the lead and building a gap over Jeremy Miller. So what was the race like for you, being at the front for the majority of it and having that little bit of a battle?
Yeah, I mean, I tried to qualify, actually. I mean, I started 13th, but I botched both my Q laps, and neither of them counted. I was having trouble with 4. So that actually, I think was a big deal, because then I had a poor pit stall, and Jeremy was able to beat me off there, off pit road several times, and it even came into pit road first, and he was still able to beat me off. So having the pit stall up towards the front was really an advantage for him. But we worked our way up from 13th, and we just kind of battled up front. And me and Jeremy were kind of running away there a little bit, and I saw Thomas was creeping up there, and I knew, of course, racing with Thomas for quite a while now, that he's always going to be around and a threat, and racing with Jeremy, my teammate, for a long time too, so I always know how good he is and kind of where his weaknesses are too.
Now, it looked like you'd struggle very early on the run in fresh tyres. I say struggle, but you and Jeremy were still the class of the field for the entire race. He was just a little bit stronger than you on the fresher tyres, though. Took you about 15 laps before your laps would start coming in. So was the first 15 just like trying to preserve your tyres a little bit to fight at him for the longer run, or were you trying to push it and keep up with him?
I pushed it a little bit for maybe the first 2 or 3 laps, but then after that, I knew if I didn't get a good run on, I was like, I'll just back off here. I know, I know Jeremy, he uses up his tires more than a lot of folks. He still managed to be quick, but I noticed he uses his up a little bit. So then I was just a matter of just being patient, and then when I finally got back up to him, just taking advantage of that. And a couple times I was able to get around him on track. It was after that I was pretty clear and able to set sail. So that's where the pit stall comes into play, because he was able to get back around me on pit road just because didn't have a good stall.
All right, now we've got to talk about it. That last caution, you went from first down to fourth. What happened for you in the pit stop cycle?
Oh Lord! So I mean, as good as this race appeared to go on the broadcast, like I said, it started with a bad qual and ended with a bad pit call mistake. So I knew Jeremy, we're teammates. I knew that he was going to take 2 and go out there and try to send it on the last couple laps. So I knew he was going to do that, so I took 2. And then I was coming down pit road as I'm getting ready to pull into my stall. He's like, "Oh shoot!" I sped. When I heard that, I was like, "Oh, I need to take 4," because I knew everybody else behind me was probably going to take 4. So I went to click over, and as soon as I stopped, they started the pit. My crew started pitting, and then if you click that box and it stays there, it does a little glitch where it'll just change your right sides, and then the car will drop, and then it'll wait a second, and then it'll change your left. So I lost 2 seconds there on pit road, and that was basically it. From then on, I was trying to fight for second. It's just disappointing. Just a race of mistakes for me, really. Even though it probably doesn't look like it, but I know that's what we missed.
Well, it was definitely one hell of a fight that you put up for second there, man, in that final couple of laps. Unfortunately, you were just edged out by Matt Burgess there at the end. But what was it like for you in that 3-wide battle that you guys were having with Rachel Hunt?
Yeah, I think I need to maybe apologize to her a little bit. I'm not sure what happened. On the restart there, we both went. I was tight to her, and I don't know if I just got to shift faster and I got into her rear end a little bit, and I think it lifted her tires up, and we ended up 4th or 5th there. And after that, I was already upset that I had made the pit stall, and then it was just driving with controlled anger, and I was, I was going to do what I could to get as many spots as possible there, and I knew that Rachel's a great driver, and I knew Matt, who was out there, he's always curious too, so he's got some awareness. So I had some confidence that if I were to get it in there, that those guys would, I wouldn't have to worry about them making mistakes. So I knew I had the confidence to just send it on in there, and it held, and those guys did a great job too. It is what it is. I mean, we'll be back next week and hopefully get a little better result.
All right, man. Well, before we let you go, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for putting this on. Aaron is a great guy, and I'm glad that the league and everybody that donated was able to help him out a bunch. I know he loves doing this stuff, so big shout out to him. Everybody else, all the admins in the league. Gareth, seems Gareth keeps getting caught up early in some stuff. It's disappointing, but I mean, hey, that's racing. It happens to all of us. And then of course you for the broadcast, putting this on, and then thank my family for putting up with this.
All right, man. Well, thank you very much for coming out, and we look forward to seeing you again next week. Hopefully, holding on to that number 1 spot.
Yeah, I'll race a little smarter next week and try to cut the mistakes out, and then we'll just let it settle itself on the.
All right. Well, thank you for coming out, man, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, we'll see you then.
All right. Coming up next, someone who's only just popped into the voice channel. He finished 8th in this one after starting from P10. We are talking to the 23 car of Mr. Jason McQuinn. Jason, not a bad result for you, finishing in the top 10 there, mate. What was the race like from your perspective?
Yeah, I thought it was a whole lot of fun. Definitely a favorite race so far of the season. I really loved this track. That last the 2 lap shootout there was just an absolute blast. I know second was racing 3 wide. Sixth place, sixth, seven, and eighth were racing for 3 wide right behind them. And shoot, I think I got loose coming out of four, and then the guy behind me got loose coming out of four. And it was really interesting, a whole lot of fun. Loved it.
Yeah, there was a lot of loose coming out of Ford that I noticed, and I'm pretty sure earlier on in the race, you were actually one car that did get loose coming out of four that brought out a caution. It was kind of two separate single car incidents coming out of four, and you just missed out on touching each other. So well
Yeah,
done for that. So what was it like for
yeah.
you um, trying to battle? I'm guessing it's the tires coming out of turn four there.
I don't, I don't know, 'cause really towards the end of the runs, I didn't feel like I got loose coming out of four that much. More often than not, on older tires, I felt loose going into corners. Um, Going back to that 21 that spun out in front of me, and then I spun out because I saw it and I overreacted, but real happy didn't hit anything from it. More often than not, I would get loose coming out of four on fresh tires, and I think it's probably because I was overdriving the car a little bit.
Well, that would make a lot of sense. You feel like you can drive it just a little bit harder with the fresher
Right.
tires because you got the grip and end up overdriving it. But good to see that you were able to battle back from that incident, man, and get yourself a top 10 position. It's actually really good to see, and it's a great little points hole for you as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm really, really pleased with the result, to be honest. I thought it was a fantastic race. I really enjoyed myself.
All right, man. Well, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Uh, I mean, I really appreciate the competitiveness in the race. There really is a lot of good racing, um, pretty much anywhere that I go on the track. And I tend to be all over the place but the front. um, and I really appreciate, them putting on the league and yourself here in the broadcast booth. So, I'm just real happy to be here.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming out, man, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Coming up next, another person who's only just slid his way into the booth here. We are going to be talking to the 27 car of Blake Medes. Blake, not a great result for you. 15th, 9 laps down. What went wrong there at the end, man?
Yeah, it was a little unfortunate. I mean, definitely we were running great first half of the race, a little bit more than half. And then it's just one of those times coming out of four, tires were eating up, and I was trying to dig a little bit more to keep pace and just kind of try to make up time, shorten the gap to the guy in front of me, and overdrove it a bit, gave her a little bit too much. Trying to catch it on the way out, and it's just one of those times where she just didn't want to catch. Got sideways, got in the wall, went in. We had our caution because the first one. I took my band aid, got it all patched back up, came back out, and then unfortunately, it happened again. I was just digging real hard, trying to keep pace so I didn't get lapped down. Started to see the leader and my relative, and I think at that point I just kind of told myself, it's like, all right, now we got to really push. If there's going to be another caution, I got the lucky dog. We got to make sure to just keep up ahead of them so we can get back on the lead lap, and then we can start digging for position. And like I said, just another one of those times, just pushed a little bit too hard. Tried to catch it coming out, and I think that time I actually went completely off the throttle, and I think that was my problem. Just not really paying attention to the car and really feeling for it, and came off it completely. hoping that would grab it, and it didn't. And yeah, ended back up in the pits with a bit more damage.
Oh, that is unfortunate, man, but hopefully bigger and better things coming your way next week. We know that you're a great driver, and hopefully, things will improve. But before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
Well, as we said earlier, just you up here in the booth, all the guys that put the league on, all the drivers here that show up every week. We got a good bunch of people, a lot of great drivers, and just everyone that comes on out, everyone that watches, everyone that's here, supporting everybody. Like I said too, once again, Aaron was with me, just kind of trying to keep me level-headed throughout most of it. I know he had a rough start, but just everyone that's involved.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming out again, man, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
As always, hopefully we can keep it off the wall and stay up front.
Oh, hopefully so, man.
Thank you
All
very
right.
much.
Coming up next, guys, we got one of the league admins, a guy who we always talk to every single week, and it's always a pleasure to have him in the booth, even when he has a bit of a shitty race, and that is my one for the broadcast. We are, of course, talking to the 48 car of Ryan Charles. Ryan, not a very great race for you at all here today, finishing all the way down in 16th, 35 laps down. What went wrong for you in this race, man? Because it just seems that you were just getting beat around like you were a baseball.
Yeah, this is obviously not one of my favorite tracks, but 35 laps down was a bit of courtesy on my part. I was still running well enough to hold on to a lap or two down. But once I got that lap down with about 40 to go, or whatever it was, 30 to go, 30, I was 35 down, so wherever that fell. I told everybody on the track, I said I got nothing left to gain. Blake he was off track at that point. I wasn't sure he was coming back or not coming back, and I was in 15th. But I just decided to pull it in. It was only me and him anywhere near each other, so it was either going to be a 15th or a 16th. And last thing I wanted to do was end up in the way with 5 or 6 to go, which probably would have happened based on that caution. So I just decided to pull it off and give the guys a little bit of courtesy, and I had nowhere left to go, so my race was over at that point.
Well, man, it was definitely a much better looking race this week than what we had last week. A lot less of a wreck fest, but still a few cautions falling within this race. What's your thoughts going ahead towards next week when we hit the famed track of Indianapolis?
The admins all got together, actually along with some of the guys from Output who've been doing this for a while, and we had a bit of a conversation with them, got some feedback from the guys who've run some leagues before, and got some ideas on how we can better administer the race itself. So as I think everybody kind of thought throughout the race, everybody did a nice job of staying off radio communication, unless it was for the race. A lot less interruption in terms of that. And I think that the system of owning the yellow flags and taking the EOL during the race as a penalty for self-ownership, I think changed the way people kind of thought about bringing out a caution, because you're going to have that penalty right then and there, or you're going to have to wait it out and hope we don't think it's your fault and take a points penalty. So I think that changed how everybody approached making it 3 wide or pushing the outside here at Pheonix, where you knew people were going to be sliding up. Just being aware kind of where they were on the track, and I think that helped out a lot. So we're going to keep that in place, and we're going to keep making some adjustments as the season goes on. It's the inaugural season. As we all know, anything that's new to a group is going to have its hiccups, but I think we're seeing good progress in terms of the administration of the race, the number of cautions, and the reasons for the cautions. Last week it was a lot of what I would call people not paying attention or people pushing too hard when they shouldn't have been. This week, I think the cautions. I mean, I brought one out. It was not the greatest move in the world by me. I felt real bad because a little bit later I got into Brian Britt. I actually caused him to have a fatal moment there in terms of his car. So he's a good buddy of mine. We run on the same team. I certainly didn't mean to get into him. But I think all of us that did spin coming out of 4 or get loose going in early on the new tires realized where the mistake was, and I think these were more one car spins today and individual issues than they were people not running where they needed to be. So that's good progress to see, and I think we'll just continue to see better racing as the season progresses.
All right, man. Well, before we let you go here tonight, anyone you want to give a quick shout out to?
I just want to thank everybody for coming out. I think it's pretty amazing that we've got a group of 23, 25, 30, depending on the week so far. Started a little lower than that, but I mean, I think if we can get 25 to 30 guys who really, and girls who really want to be here every week, and everybody gets used to racing with one another, I think that we'll be in good shape. So I thank them. Also wanted to bring to attention, since you helped us with it last week, getting the word out. We were able to raise close to $1,500 for Aaron. So Aaron's going to be able to get the equipment that he needs. So thank you to everyone involved in the fundraiser this whole week following the race last week for donating what you can, for kind words to Aaron, and for supporting his cause and what we were trying to do last week for him. So we all get to race every week without much thought about sitting down and doing it. And he's got, along with a lot of other drivers, just as an example, in our league, Rachel Hunt, who puts in a lot of time and has her struggles with getting through these races as well. It just goes to show you, when you want to do something, Rachel shows us how it's done, and I'm sure over the next few weeks, once we're able to get Aaron his equipment, he's going to show us how it's done also. So really big shout out to everybody involved in the fundraiser, and thank you to everyone that gave.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time, man. Thank you for helping to put on this fantastic league, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys. So that is all of the interviews done here now. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out and having a watch. It's definitely one of the good leagues that we broadcast. But until next week when we're at Indianapolis, make sure you all stay safe out there, and we look forward to seeing you all go again next week. So ciao for now.